A dawn explodes as a woman storms an ex's home, splintering furniture in a fiery clash. He dials for help, voice trembling with fear, begging police to shield him from her wrath. In a tense courtroom, a stern judge sifts through wreckage photos, calls, dread nailing her with a hefty price. Will rage's cost break her? Dive into this gripping tale, where fury meets fear, evidence seals fate, and a gray morning's chaos echoes with questions of trust and torment. The air inside a weathered duplex on the north side of Omaha, Nebraska, hung heavy with the mingled scents of stale coffee and the faint tang of frost creeping through cracked window frames under a gray November dawn, its oppressive stillness shattered by the sudden crash of a wooden chair, splintering against a wall. The duplex, a squat two-story building with peeling paint and a sagging porch flanked by barren yards, and the dim glow of streetlights flickering through the mist, stretched beneath a sky cloaked in low, rolling clouds, their edges fraying into the chilly haze that blurred the outlines of Omaha's working-class sprawl. The morning was raw, a biting 28 degrees, the frost glazing the grass in brittle shards, amplifying every sound, the creak of floorboards underfoot. The distant wail of a train cutting through the city, the steady drip of a faucet echoing from the kitchen, like a metronome in the pre-dawn gloom. Claire Novak, 34. A mechanic with a fierce edge, forged by 8 years wrenching engines at Benson Auto Repair, and a quiet resilience honed through late-night shifts and heartbreak, stood in the living room at 6:10 a.m., her denim jacket torn at the sleeve, her auburn hair spilling loose from a frayed ponytail, her steady, hazel eyes blazing with a mix of fury and betrayal. Her hands trembling as she gripped the remnants of a shattered chair, her breath sharp with the cold and the sting of his lies as she faced her ex-boyfriend, her life. A jagged rhythm of fixing and fighting since her father's death 5 years prior, her presence steady yet volatile until it erupted. She'd dated Dan Weaver for 3 years. A stormy bond of late-night talks and broken promises. His duplex a haven she'd helped mend until his cheating shattered it. Her anger a spark she'd unleashed in a moment of rage. Dan Weaver, 36. A clerk with a wary calm and a reputation for caution, etched into his 10-year stint at the county clerk's office, stood across the room, his blue eyes wide beneath a furrowed brow, his lean frame tense beneath a faded sweatshirt, his breath ragged with the faint tang of the beer he'd sipped at midnight after a late shift, his hand steady as he clutched his phone. His life. A cautious dance of routine and retreat since his sister's overdose 2 years prior. His presence quiet yet fragile until it demanded safety. He'd watched Claire storm in her key, still fitting the lock. She'd never returned, his sharp voice cutting through the dawn at 6:10 a.m. "Claire, get out! You're crazy!" Claire stepped closer, her steady, hazel eyes flashing, her voice sharp, measured. "You're a liar, Dan. I'll break it all." Dan flinched, his tone barking. "I'm calling the cops. You'll pay for this." What unfolded was swift and violent. Claire lunged her arm, swinging the chair, crashing into a coffee table with a splintering thud, glass shattering across the floor, her sharp shout piercing the cold. "That's for her." Dan ducked his hand, fumbling for his phone, his voice shaking. "She broke in. I need help. I'm scared." Claire kicked a lamp, its base cracking against the wall, her steady gaze flaring with fury, her voice low, cutting through the chaos. "Sue me. Then this ain't over." Dan froze, his blue eyes darting as the weight of her rage sank in his wary calm, faltering. "You bet I will. Cops are coming." The clash landed like a stone in the frost. Neighbors peeked from windows across the street, phones flashing as they filmed their gasps, a chorus in the dawn. Dan dialing 911, Claire storming out, chaos laid bare in the glow of camera lights. Dan's voice a whisper to himself, "She'll pay." Claire saw a liar exposed. Dan saw a threat unleashed, a spark to his fear, honed by years of filing and fleeing. He filed a suit the next week at the Douglas County Courthouse clerk's window, November 14th, his steady hands trembling as he signed his sweatshirt swapped for a jacket. His voice shaky. She broke my stuff, scared me, owes me damages. Their clash ignited a storm over fear and ruin, Omaha's gray dawn, pressing down like a judge's scrutiny, waiting to fall, the city's frost-bitten streets, a brooding witness to her fury. The Douglas County Courthouse buzzed on a crisp December morning, its marble halls reverberating with the echo of footsteps that bounced off the polished floors, like a steady drumbeat threading through the cool, dry air. The scent of polished oak blending with the faint musk of old files, stacked in dusty corners, their edges yellowed and curling from years of handling, and the brittle chill that seeped through the walls after November's relentless frost, and the sharp tang of coffee wafting from paper cups clutched by restless hands, its bitter aroma drifting through the space like a ghost of hurried mornings. The courtroom, perched on the fourth floor, was a grand chamber with oak benches worn smooth by decades of Omaha's disputes, custody battles, settled with terse nods or bitter glares that hung heavy in the air, petty theft cases hashed out in clipped exchanges of blame, and defense that left the room taut with unresolved tension, civil suits, ending in reluctant handshakes or hollow apologies that faded into the low hum of whispered conversations. Its walls were lined with faded portraits of stern-faced judges, their edges curling under the weight of time, and the cool air that slipped through the high windows, their glass clear and streaked with the faint frost of an early winter, offering fleeting glimpses of Omaha's skyline beyond its brick buildings, and the distant shimmering ribbon of the Missouri River, glowing faintly under a pale overcast sky. At the front, behind a raised bench scarred with nicks and pen marks that traced decades of rulings and late-night deliberations over yellowed files, sat Judge Paul Grayson, 58. His short gray hair, combed neatly, accentuating the sharp lines of his weathered face, etched by years of courtroom battles and Nebraska winters. His blue eyes sharp with a quiet intensity that sliced through the room's stillness like a hawk spotting prey across the Missouri's muddy expanse, seeing through bluster and bravado to the raw truth beneath a gaze that missed nothing and weighed everything with unflinching precision. His robe hung crisp over a firm frame tempered by years of discipline, broad shoulders from his days as a farmer in Lincoln before law school. His voice, steady with authority as it once called out to livestock across windy plains, hands steady from wielding gavels, and pens their knuckles faintly knotted from gripping justice, with a clarity that left no room for evasion. His voice, a firm, steady drawl honed by 25 years on the bench, carrying a steel forged through countless courtroom tangles as he called the case, his tone cutting through the crisp air, like a whip cracking over a silent prairie. Weaver versus Novak, property damage. Distress claim, damages sought. Let's hear it, folks, and keep it tight. I want facts, not feelings. We're here for evidence, not excuses. My docket's full, and this cold's not waiting for dawdling, so let's move. Dan Weaver sat at the plaintiff's table, flanked by his counsel, Tom Ellis, a wiry attorney with a pressed suit that fit snug on his slight frame, his sharp brown eyes darting between his client and the bench, a quick pen dancing across his notepad as he tracked every word. Evidence meticulously stacked before them, a thick folder of repair estimates, photos, witness affidavits, police reports, his wary calm, steady but brittle, as he adjusted his posture, a faint sheen of sweat beading on his forehead. Despite the cool air, his blue eyes hard with resolve, his lean frame tense beneath a clean jacket swapped for his usual sweatshirt, his breath, even as he braced for the fight, the faint whiff of ink lingering from a morning at the clerk's office, his lawyer's presence, a shield he'd leaned on to press claims since Claire's break-in hit. He'd built his life on filing 10 years, sorting records, a duplex, his haven now a battleground, his confidence, a mask now firm. As Paul took the bench, his resolve a steel thread woven through his claim, his fear, a wound he'd wielded. Claire Novak stood at the defendant's table, flanked by her counsel, Sarah Mills, a wiry attorney with a rumpled suit that hung loose on her slight frame, her sharp, green eyes darting between her client and the bench, a quick pen dancing across her notepad as she tracked every word, papers thin and neatly arranged before them, little more than a handwritten note and a few receipts, her fierce, edge tense but brittle, as she adjusted her posture, her steady hazel eyes glinting with defiance, her lean frame, rigid beneath a denim shirt swapped for her usual jacket. Her breath, sharp with the sting of nerves fueling her fight, the faint whiff of oil lingering from a late shift at Benson Auto Repair. Her lawyer's presence a shield she'd leaned on to deflect blame since Dan's suit landed her resolve. A fire that flickered beneath her strain. Her mind racing with the fallout, shop bets souring since the break-in hit the news. Paul leaned forward, his elbows resting firmly on the bench, his blue eyes scanning the filings with a predator's focus. Dan's typed claim for $3,200 in monetary and emotional damages, its pages crisp with dates, repair estimates, and a detailed recounting of the November 13th incident, laid out in stark black ink. His clerk's precision shining through every line, Claire's handwritten response, a single sheet claiming, "No intent, just rage, no fear." His pen tapping a slow, deliberate rhythm against his notepad, each tap a signal. He was sifting through their mess with a judge's firm eye, his voice cutting through the gallery's hum like a foghorn over the plains. "Facts draw the line here, folks. Every time I see it in this room, a claim's weight, caught in the balance, evidence decides it. Prove your case. I want specifics, not guesses, clarity, not chaos today. No whining, no waffling, just the truth. Plaintiffs up first." His drawl carried a firm, unyielding authority, his gaze shifting between them like a spotlight, probing for cracks, weighing their claims with a steadiness that brooked no evasion. His hands steady on the bench as he flipped through Dan's claim photos, police reports, a recounting of the gray dawn. Then Claire's response, a slim sheet that seemed to shrink under his scrutiny, his lips thinning slightly as he read the dates, his blue eyes narrowing with a flicker of skepticism. "Man claims. Fear woman. Claims rage trusts cost, caught in the middle. I need proof, not please. Let's hear it." The gallery buzzed whispers, swelling like a rising tide, retirees. Like Ed Grayson, a grizzled mechanic with a thermos of black coffee muttering to his wife Clara. A retired clerk with a notepad clutched tight. "She broke it. Pics don't lie. She's cooked." Young workers like Tara Mills, a cashier with a faded apron stuffed in her bag, whispering to her friend Lena Ortiz, a barista with tired eyes and a nervous fidget. "She's fierce, might slip though." Dan's office buddy, Sam Carter, lanky with a faded cap, pulled low, nudging his pal Luke. Ramsey, a mechanic with a thick beard and a skeptical grunt. "She scared him, Dan's solid judge, you'll see." Their voices a low hum of anticipation, a chorus threading through the tension, their bets and murmurs, a backdrop to the courtroom's simmering storm, a pulse matching the crisp air, and the lights' steady glow overhead, a rhythm that quickened as Dan stepped forward, his blue eyes locking onto Paul, his resolve a steel thread woven through his wary calm. Dan's jaw tightened, his fingers steady on his folder, his breath firm as he stood, his boots silent on the marble, the weight of his home and justice anchoring his stance. Claire's hands steadied, her hazel eyes flickering with defiance, her fierce edge faltering for a heartbeat. Paul's words, a gauntlet thrown, their clash now, a courtroom battlefield under his firm and unyielding gaze. Omaha's gray dawn, a faint shimmer beyond the tall windows, its river dulled by frost. The city's quiet sprawl, a brooding witness to their unraveling truth. Dan Weaver took the stand, first climbing the steps, with a steady gait that echoed softly off the marble floor, his jacket crisp over his lean frame, its fabric pressed with the meticulous care of a man who'd spent 10 years filing records into order. His voice calm, yet edged with a quiet fear that simmered beneath his wary demeanor. A fire stoked by weeks of reliving that break in the woman's fierce shout, the chair's crash, the weight of his haven, shattered in an Omaha dawn. He swore, his hand firm on the Bible, its leather, creased and soft from years of oaths, a weight grounding his resolve. "I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God." He sat, hands resting on the rail, fingers tracing its worn grain, as he adjusted the microphone with a faint squeak, his blue eyes locking onto Paul, with a resolve tempered by years of caution, and claiming his short hair combed back, swaying slightly as he leaned in, his breath steadying against the courtroom's crisp air, his voice threading through the stillness like a taut wire. She broke in, smashed my stuff, scared me. Photos prove it. She owes me damages. He slid his evidence across the stand with a deliberate motion. A thick folder of repair estimates, photos, witness affidavits, police reports. His voice steady, carrying across the room, with a weight that filled the silence. A clerk's precision cutting through the haze. November 13th this year, 6:10 a.m. My duplex. She kicks the door, smashes a chair, 6:15 a.m. I call cops. Photos show at repair shop, says $1,200. Police report says fear. Witness neighbor saw her rage. Nebraska. Revised statutes 28-13-22. Criminal mischief intent clear. She broke it. Owes me $3,200 with emotional harm. His words landed like a quiet thunderclap, rippling through the gallery. His blue eyes unwavering, a calm storm of justice beneath his poise. The weight of his home and fight spilling into his testimony. His clerk years, a silent chorus. His sister's loss, a scar that fueled his stand. His resolve, a steel thread woven through his claim. His duplex, a haven he'd forged. Paul leaned forward, his blue eyes sharp and unyielding, his pen poised over his notepad, its nib catching the light as he tapped it once, a signal he was slicing into the marrow of Dan's argument, his voice cutting dry through the crisp air like a scalpel through flesh. Photos clear, exact. What's it? Showtime marks. Prove it to me, not just your say-so. I need the damage, not your story. Dan's hands steadied, his voice firm, his blue eyes glinting with a fire that burned beneath his calm as he slid the photos forward, his fingers steady despite the tremor of memory. Here, November 13th, 6:10 a.m., chair broke, table smashed, 6:15 a.m. Neighbor snaps, pics estimate $1,200. Shop confirmed police report. Fear expressed. Witness statement. Saw her smash, yell, clear as dawn she did it. Intent prove it was, how's it show malice, not just your word. Show me the rage, not her slip. Photos, chair splintered, table cracked, witness. She yelled, smashed, police report forced entry. No slip, she meant it, truth's plain, she raged. His voice rose slightly, a tremor of conviction breaking through his calm, his blue eyes glinting with a flicker of fear beneath the resolve. His hands steady, as he pointed to the photos, the weight of his terror spilling into his words. His clerk grit a steady anchor. His sister's loss, a wound now a weapon. His resolve, a fire that burned bright. Damages, cost specifics. Why's it hers? Show me the harm, not just the stuff. $3,200 repair bill, $1,200 emotional fear. Can't sleep, 28-13-22. She broke it, police report. Fearful, harm's real, justice says. She pays, truth's heavy, she owes. His voice steadied again, his hands unclenching slightly, his blue eyes meeting Paul's, sharp scrutiny, his resolve, a steel thread beneath his calm. The courtroom holding its breath as he laid bare the stakes, his clerk years a testament, his duplex a haven. He'd forged his fear, a wound he'd wielded. Paul scribbled, his voice dry as the Omaha frost outside his drawl, measured but piercing. Photos or steal your takes, solid defendant's turn. I need facts, not fluff, go on. Claire Novak rose from the table, her ascent swift and tense, each step thudding against the marble like a spark's echo, her denim shirt tense over her lean frame, her fierce edge, a brittle mask steady, but edged with defiance, as she swore, her hand firm on the Bible, its weight grounding her faltering resolve. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. She sat, hands gripping the rail fingers, digging into the wood as she adjusted the microphone. Her hazel eyes locking onto Paul with a defiance tempered by unease. Her auburn hair loose, swaying slightly as she leaned in. Her breath sharp with the sting of nerves beneath her calm. Her voice threading through the stillness like a frayed wire. I broke in. Sure smashed it, no intent, just rage, he provoked me. No fear, no debt. She slid her evidence across with a shaky motion. A handwritten note. A few receipts, her voice steady, carrying across the room, with a weight that faltered under scrutiny, a mechanic's bravado cutting through the haze. November 13th, 6:10 a.m. His place, I kick in, yell liar, smash a chair, 6:15 a.m. He calls, I run, no plan, just heat note, says, Snapped. Receipts. Show my cash. No intent. Just a fight. Truth. Simple. I flared. Her words landed like a shaky flare, flickering, swaying through the gallery. Her hazel eyes flickering with a mix of certainty and creeping doubt. A fragile storm beneath her poise. Her mind racing with the fallout shop bets souring since Dan's suit hit her mechanic life. A noose tightening her resolve, a fire that flickered beneath her strain, her breakup. A wound she'd wielded. Paul's gaze, sharpened as pen tapping, once his voice slicing through. Intent exact. When where prove it wasn't planned. Show me facts, not words. Claire's hands steadied her voice firm, her hazel eyes glinting with a fire that burned beneath her panic. 6:10 a.m., November 13th, his place. He yells, I flare, kick, and smash at 6:15 a.m. I bolt, no plan. Note says rage. Receipts my cash. No prep, just heat, not intent. Truth's clear. I snapped. Damage prove it less. How's it show no cost? Not just your word. Show me the flare, not his fix. Note, snap, no plan. Receipts. My cash buddy. Saw yell, not smash photos? His stuff, my flare, no. $3,200, just anger. Truth's plain. I flared. Her voice wavered, her hands clenching the note, her hazel eyes flickering with a shadow of doubt beneath the defiance, the gallery holding its breath as her words stumbled. Her mechanic grit a fraying thread, her resolve a flame flickering low. Harm cost specifics, why's it not yours? Show me the heat, not his hit. No, harm meant he provoked receipts. My cash anger, not fear, $3,200. His greed. Truth's simple. I flared. Not plan justice, says no pay. Her voice steadied her hands, unclenching, her hazel eyes pleading beneath the strain. The courtroom holding its breath as she laid bare her fragile dodge. Her shop life a shield now, dust her breakup, a wound that lingered still. The courtroom crackled as witnesses took the stand, their voices threading through the crisp air, like live wires sparking in the dawn, each testimony. A jolt that fueled the mounting tension, Dan's neighbor, Clara Evans. A wiry retiree with a steady gaze and calloused hands, from years tending a small garden, testified first, climbing the stand with a calm step that belied the weight of her words. Her voice steady, her brown eyes clear and unflinching. November 13th, 6:10 a.m. Duplex, I saw her kick and yell, liar, smash a chair. He yelled, help. She ran clear, rage no doubt. Paul leaned in, his blue eyes piercing. Exact time. What did you see? How'd she act? Prove it, not guess. Show me the smash, not her flare. Clara's hands rested steady on the rail, her voice firm. 6:10 a.m., November 13th, across street. 10 yards away, she kicks, yells, liar. Smashes chair, 6:15 a.m. He calls. She bolts, photos match. I saw it. She meant it, no slip. Her words landed like a quiet hammer. The gallery shifting whispers, swelling. As she stepped down, her garden mornings, a silent witness to Claire's chaos, her testimony, a steel thread in Dan's tale, her resolve a steady rock. Claire's shop buddy Sam Carter followed his ascent, slower boots, scuffing the marble with a reluctant thud, his lanky frame hunched slightly under a faded jacket, his quiet smirk fading as he swore, his hand heavy on the Bible. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. He sat, hands gripping the rail, fingers twitching as he adjusted the microphone, his blue eyes locking onto Paul with defiance and a flicker of unease that danced beneath his lean frame, his voice gruff but steady, cutting through the air like a low growl. She yelled, November 13th, 6:10 a.m. His place screamed, liar, no smash. I saw just rage. He grabbed accident, not damage, her fault, heat. He slid his thin papers across a scribbled note, his voice carrying a weight of certainty, though a faint crack betrayed his strain. 6:10 a.m., November 13th, his place 10 yards back. She yells, liar. He yells, she runs, no smash. Note says yelled. Rage not ruin, truth simple. She flared. Paul's gaze sharpened his pen, tapping once, his voice slicing through. Smash, exact when where prove it didn't happen. Show me facts, not words. Sam's hands steadied, his voice firm, his blue eyes glinting with a flicker of defiance. 6:10 a.m., November 13th, his place. She yells. He grabs 6:15 a.m. She's off. No. Smash note says yell. I saw rage. Not break truths clear. She screamed. Damage prove it less. How's it show no mark? Not just your take. Show me the yell, not his wreck. Note. Yelled no plan. I saw her scream photos angles off dawn dark. She flared, not smash truths plain. She raged. His voice wavered, his hands clenching the note. His blue eyes flickering with a shadow of doubt beneath the defiance the gallery, holding its breath as his words stumbled. His shop loyalty, a fraying thread since Claire's fight, hid his bets, souring with her dodge. His resolve, a flame flickering low. Evidence clashed like thunderheads colliding Dan's photos. Time-stamped November 13th, 6:10:03 a.m. Captured the chair splintered table. Cracked lamp broken, 6:10:07 a.m. Claire, stepping back clear. As the Omaha Dawn repair estimate, $1,200 stood firm. Affidavits Clara. Saw her smash yell, solid as Stone Police report. Fear expressed, Nebraska. Revised statutes, 28 to 1322, criminal mischief, with intent. Claire's note, raged no plan, and receipts paled beside the photos of flimsy scrap against a tidal wave of truth. Sam's no smash, echoed Claire, but crumbled under the photo's clarity, a thin reed bending under scrutiny. Dan's folder swelled with 911 logs, a timeline, tight as a clerk's record. Claire's resolve, a frayed thread beneath her thin defense. Her shop life, a shadow, now dust. Paul probed his voice sharp as a blade, his blue eyes blazing like a storm breaking over the plains. Rage or ruin? Photos show ruin, why deny? Prove it to me, Ms. Novak, flair or fault, what's it say? Claire's jaw tightened, her voice tense defiance flaring. Rage. I yelled, flared, smashed it sure, but no plan photos? Heat not intent, he pushed me, truth's plain, I snapped. Her hands clenched the rail, her hazel eyes flickering with a mix of certainty and panic. The gallery gasping as her words clashed with the photo's silent truth, her mechanic life. A shield. Now ash, her breakup a wound. She'd wielded her resolve a fire snuffed by proof. Paul's gaze narrowed, his pen slashing the page. Photos are fact your flair, Ben's next witness. I need steel, not smoke. Not. The air thickened as the next witness was called. Dan's co-worker, Lena Ortiz, a wiry clerk with a steady gaze, and a soft, Omaha drawl climbed the stand, her testimony, a quiet counterpoint. November 13th, 6:10 a.m. Duplex saw her kick in, yell liar, smash a chair, he yelled. She ran clear ruin, no doubt. Paul cut in. Exact when, where, prove it, not echo. What did you see? Lena's hands rested steady, her voice firm. 6:10 a.m. Duplex. 10 yards away, she kicks, yells liar, smashes chair, 6:15 a.m. He calls photos match, I saw it, truth solid. She ruined. Paul's voice sharpened. Intent, explain it, why ruin? Why lie? Lena's gaze held. No lie anger, she yelled liar, smashed ruin, not flare truths, plain, she meant it. The gallery murmured, tension coiling tighter. As Lena stepped down her shifts, a silent witness to Dan's fight, her resolve a steady flame. A week of unrelenting heat testimony piled. Like cordwood on a blazing fire, voices rose. Like thunder rolling over the Missouri, papers shuffled into towering stacks, their edges curling in the crisp air, ink smudged from anxious hands. The courtroom, a crucible, simmering with sweat and strain. Its air thick with the weight of words, and the gallery's murmurs, swelling like a storm breaking over the city's brick sprawl. Paul recessed daily, retreating to his chambers, a stark nook with a scratched desk cluttered with files, and a half-read novel. Its pages yellowed from years on the shelf. A window framing Omaha's skyline, crisp through a clear pane. The city's buildings and river dulled by morning frost. His coffee cooling, untouched beside a stack of Nebraska statutes, and a worn legal pad. Its pages scrawled with notes, timestamps, frames. His boots tapping a relentless rhythm against the hardwood as he paced his mind, sifting through the tangle with a judge's firm precision, weighing every word, every glance, every scrap of evidence against the emotional currents swirling beneath like the river's hidden depths. Its flow steady but unseen, its silt muddying the truth. His farming days a distant grit. His law school nights a steel guide. His Omaha years a steady pulse. His resolve a fire that burned steady. He returned on Monday, December 18th, his robe rustling as he climbed the bench. His voice firm, cutting through the room's hum like a blade. Through silence, his blue eyes sweeping the gallery, then settling on Claire with a weight that pinned her like stones. Under a prairie's relentless wind, his presence, a stern anchor in the storm, his drawl sharp and unyielding. Photos bind her, $3,200 due emotional to. Pay him November 13th, damage upheld. He leaned forward, his pen tapping once, a single resounding strike. His voice rising, his blue eyes blazing like a storm breaking over the plains. His words, a thunderclap that silenced the room. Evidence, don't lie, Ms. Novak, you do. Photos, November 13th, 6:10:03 a.m. Chair broke. Table cracked lamp, smashed 6:10:07 7 a.m. You step back, clear as dawn. Estimate $1,200 affidavits. Clara. Saw her smash yell. Lena yelled, liar ruined. Police report. Fear expressed. 28/13/22 intent clear. No flare. Your note. Rage no plan. Flops photos. Or steal emotional harm. Fear proven $3,200 due. 30 days truth's out and it's heavy. Claire sank into her seat, her hazel eyes dimming her lean frame, slumping, as if the air had been sucked from her lungs, her hands clenching her note until the paper tore a sharp rip, slicing the silence. Fault laid bare, defiance. A shadow, unmasked a truth she couldn't shrug off, a burden now, etched into her bones, her fierce edge dissolving into a grimace as the gallery's murmurs swelled around her like a tide. Her mechanic life, a noose. She'd tightened herself, her shop bets. A fading echo, her resolve. A fire snuffed out her breakup. A wound now await her anger, a spark that burned her still. Dan stood tall, his blue eyes softening, a flicker of triumph washing over him, like a wave breaking on shore. His hands unclenching on his folder, a weight lifting from his shoulders, though the echo of that fear lingered. A shadow of justice reclaimed his home and dignity, affirmed the courtroom's gasp, a chorus of awe as he stepped back. His mission, not just to win, but to mend a quiet strength, now a beacon. His clerk years, a silent testament. His sister's loss, a scar. Now a victory, his resolve, a steel thread that held firm his duplex, a haven he'd reclaimed. The gallery erupted in hushed awe, Ed muttering, she's got it, Pixar King, she's cooked. Clara nodding. Fair's fair, he nailed her. Tara whispering, told you truth wins, he's solid. Lena grinning, he's a rock clerk power. Sam shaking his head. She flared honest heat. Luke silent, his jaw tight. Paul's gavel fell, a crisp thud wood, meeting wood, echoing like a vault, slamming shut, silencing the storm. 3,200 due, 30 days, case closed. Facts clear, Mr. Weaver prevails. Next. Outside Omaha, shimmered under a dusk streaked with amber and violet, the air cooling as the sun sank below the horizon, its golden light glinting off the Missouri River's gentle ripples, casting a fleeting glow over the city's brick skyline, the streets alive with the hum of evening traffic, and the distant pulse of trains fading into the night. The city's pulse, a steady beat beneath the glow, the air alive with whispers of justice, won the plain's breath, a quiet murmur. Dan drove off in his sedan, its faded finish catching the last rays, his blue eyes glinting with relief, and a quiet triumph, his hands steady on the wheel as he navigated the streets toward his duplex in North Omaha. The hum of the engine, a soft melody beside him, a future brighter, yet still tender. His mind drifting to the fallout he'd won, headlines buzzing. Clerk wins $3,200 from ex-coworkers cheering his shift that night. Claire's dead, a symbol of his resolve. His quiet strength, the spark that lit a fire of justice in Omaha's courts, his home restored a pause after the storm. Yet a question lingered in the stillness. Would peace heal in Omaha's dusk? Or would fear's shadow stretch further, clawing back from the light he'd cast his clerk? Years a testament, his sister's loss. A wound now fading, his resolve a steady flame that burned bright. His duplex, a haven he'd reclaimed? Claire faded into the courthouse lot. Her truck parked crooked against a lamppost, its faded finish dulled by dusk, her hazel eyes hard with a flicker of disbelief. Her lean frame slumped against the door, her hands gripping her keys with a force that whitened her knuckles, tension unspent, a storm brewing beneath her silence, her sharp voice muttering to the wind, "I flared, I saw it, damn pics are wrong." A shadow of doubt she couldn't shake clung to her. A fault she couldn't shrug off, a burden now etched into her stride as she climbed in and drove west toward her apartment in Benson, her taillights fading into the crisp, golden glow. A mechanic's fire shattered by a debt's cost, a question trailing behind her like exhaust fumes in the night air. Could she reclaim calm from a moment's rage? Or would the debt she'd forged swallow her whole? A casualty of the truth she'd failed to see, her shop bets, dust her mechanic life, a fading echo, her truck a weight. She'd bear her resolve a fire now, ash her breakup, a wound that lingered still. She'd face the payment, her rage a noose she'd tightened, yet her echo lingered in Omaha's backlots, a cautionary tale for those who'd watched her fierce nights, a shadow that faded slow. Paul drove home to his bungalow on the city's edge, its cedar siding catching the last golden rays before dusk swallowed them, the Missouri River, a shimmering silhouette against the sky, its edges blurring into shadow, the maples along its banks whispering in the breeze, his sedan rumbling over asphalt, its tires humming a steady tune as he pondered. Would peace mend between a clerk and a town bound by a break-in's violent turn? Would justice's weight soften or drift further into the dusk like a lesson half learned a bond? Unhealed his farming days, a distant grit, his law school nights, a steel guide, his Omaha years, a steady pulse, his rulings, a testament to justice's grind, his Lincoln roots a quiet flame that burned steady, his resolve a fire that held firm. The horizon stretched, Nebraska's plains whispering, under a sky deepening to indigo, the river glinting faintly, a mirror to his thoughts. What heals a scar carved by rage? What waits in the crisp golden glow for a woman with fire and a man with fear? What lessons linger in the cool air for a break that broke trust but not his steel? Claire's debt, a testament, Dan's home, a lingering echo, Paul's justice, a quiet call that rang true, a question that shimmered still. A question hung open and vast, shimmering, in Omaha's quiet night, a truth unresolved, a story trailing into the dusk. Its next chapter waiting beyond the courtroom, beyond the river, beyond the glow that settled over the city like a promise, yet to unfold, a whisper of what might rise from the ashes of a gray dawn's reckoning. Claire's fire, a fragile ember, Dan's steel, a steady flame, Paul's justice, a quiet murmur that lingered on. Thank you all for watching this video. Please comment and let me know what you think about this story. Please like and subscribe to watch more great content on my channel.